According to Marion Roach Smith, rule number 1 when writing memoir is that writing memoir is about telling the truth. Now, we may think that's pretty self-evident, isn't it? We're writing memoir, we're telling true life stories. So what do you think she means? According to Marion Roach Smith in her book, The Memoir Project, there are 3 basic guidelines we should all consider when writing our memoir. So in this video, we're going to look at rule number 1, and watch out for my following videos, which will discuss rule number 2 and rule number 3. The problem with telling the truth is that this is our perspective on the truth. There can be different opinions or different perspectives, different takeaways from the same event. We could all be party to exactly the same event and have a different take on it. Isn't that what accident reports are often about? 3 or 4 people witnessing the same accident could give different takes on it, different perspectives. So which one's the truth? Which one's the right one? And that's really a dilemma we have too with memoir. We want to tell our story, but we can get caught up in thinking, well, this is my story, but I know my brother or my sister or my auntie Edith sees it differently. So how do I find the truth, and how do I tell the truth in writing memoir? The best advice to offer is to tell the story your way, your perspective, the way you saw it, the way you experienced it. Now, memory can be fuzzy, we all know that. But there's a great piece of advice about memoir writing from Abigail Thomas in her book, Thinking About Memoir. She says, memoir is not about perfect accuracy of recording, it's more about finding perspective. And that's what we're looking for when we tell our stories. When we're doing truth-telling in our stories, we're telling the truth, we're telling the story from our perspective, as we saw it, as we experienced it. A great way to do that is evident in the memoir Educated by Tara Westover, as well as Lit by Mary Carr, where they use phrases such as, this is the way I recall it, here's how I see it, this is how I experienced it. Using terms and phrases like that offers to the reader exactly that this is our perspective, this is our take on it, and that perhaps somebody else has a different one. Keeping in mind too that our relationship with a certain person in our lives could be very different from somebody else. So we may get on very well with our mother, for example, but one of our siblings does not. What do? We tell the story from our perspective, our experience of that relationship, our experience of that event. And that's all we can offer. That is our truth in telling the story. We may find that our next hurdle is thinking that our story is actually a bit too common. Who's going to be interested in yet another story of a marriage breakdown or another parental-child relationship challenge? Who's interested in yet another story along those lines, and who's going to be interested in mine? We may think that our truth-telling is actually far too common. That is the whole point. The whole point is that your story can only be told by you, your way. And that is what gives you your voice. Don't think that your story is far too common or that it's been told 100 times. We want to hear your story, your perspective in your voice, the way you saw it. And keep to the basics of it. Keep to how you saw it and how you experienced it. Because when you do, that is going to contribute to your voice, giving that uniqueness that is purely yours. And that's what the reader is looking for. That is what you're offering the reader, is your story, your perspective, your way in your voice. Now, on the note of voice, we also want to know, when we read your memoir, is the truth-telling of how you really felt about something, how you truly experienced it. And that means you're going to have to go much deeper into your soul searching in order to tap into that voice, in order to tell the truth. We can have a surface level truth. My marriage broke down. I found out that my wife was having an affair. Okay, and you could even give us scene-driven writing where you explain how you came across your wife holding hands with somebody else in a pub, that you had been suspicious and that you had trailed her and wondered what she was up to. What we also want to know is the truth-telling of how deeply that hurt you, where that pain settled inside of you, and how betrayal looked for you in your life, so that others who've experienced betrayal in whatever form will resonate with your betrayal, your way, the way you experienced it. And in order to reach that point where you can express your betrayal, your hurt, your disappointment, your shattered dreams, you need to go very deep and write what many call a vomit draft, where you put out exactly on the page everything that comes out about that particular experience. I prefer the term purging on the page, and that is something you will need to do to actually find the truth-telling in your memoir. When you've been overlooked, when you lost something you really wanted, when you didn't achieve your goal, how did that actually show up in your life? Purge it onto the page. In doing that, you will also find your true voice. You'll find the real experience of it, and you'll take us deeper into it versus surface telling. The problem now with this is we don't actually want to read the purge on the page. It's actually too unattractive, too uninviting. And as much as we want to know about your story, we really want to see our story in your story. We don't necessarily want to see all the nitty-grittiness of it. So how does that then work with truth-telling? Once you've got the purge on the page, the next step is to actually remember you're writing a story, you're telling a story. And your job, your role as writer is to take that purge, to hit that place where the pain hurts, where you may be crying on the page as you're writing your story, where you have to even step away from the page in order to breathe again and then go back and tackle it some more. When you've got that purge on the page, remember to now turn it into a story. You are writing a story, and you're now going to teach your reader something about your life that's a universal truth. Do watch my videos on determining your theme. Do sign up for my free course down below on actually determining your premise. You're now going to need all of that to build your story scene by scene by drawing that thread through the story for the reader like little white pebbles for them to follow, so that you can reveal to them a truth about life that your story illustrates. And that is all part of the truth-telling in memoir. Now, two more provisos with regard to truth-telling in memoir. One is stay away from embellishments. Abigail Thomas, in her book Thinking About Memoir, says that there's a difference between premeditated embellishments and the way that memory works. She says that there's a difference between lying and telling the truth. But do not despair, because we all know the difference. And so stay away from embellishments. Tell your story simply, frankly, truly. Another point on telling the truth in your memoir is that dilemma of how much do we say and how much do we actually disguise in order to protect identities. And I have a whole video on that as well, which I'm going to link right here for you to watch. The point of the matter is, of course, we all know in memoir that we're writing memoir to tell a story, not for revenge, not to throw somebody under the bus. We want to tell the story honestly, truthfully, but also with respect and care. And so we all know that in memoir, there are disclaimers that say names and places have been changed in order to protect identities. We take that as a given, we understand that, and we still see the story as being truth-telling. However, if your story is of such a nature that you actually can't tell the truth because there's a major problem that may come from it, you can always consider autofiction. Now, that's a different topic altogether, which I will still do a video on, so do watch out for it, where you can actually take your story and turn it into a novel, autofiction, but you do convey that a lot of what's in the story is actually true, but a lot has been changed in order to hide it and disguise it. So that's for another video. For this video, we know now that rule number one in telling our memoir story is to tell the truth. Offering to the reader that it's your perspective, your voice, your take on your life, and that there may be other interpretations, but this is yours. And that's what you're offering the reader as your truth-telling, and that you're actually offering the reader the depth of your emotions, the depth of your story, not just a surface telling of it. That is also truth-telling. You stay away from embellishments, and then you do make use of a disclaimer in order to protect identities. All perfectly acceptable. So that's my take on Marion Roach Smith, rule number 1 for the 3 rules of memoir writing, from her book, The Memoir Project. If you're wanting to know more, a link to her book is in the description below. Watch out for my next video where we discuss rule number 2. I'll see you in that video, so don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell so that you don't miss it. I'll see you then.